right. So what I think what means is that you have to go back to what Ben Rice has said about how amazingly NVIDIA was not valued correctly by a lot of funds. They had to go buy more in order to have the equality of being to match the S&P, to mirror the S&P. And what's happening is and I mentioned that because there's a leapfrog effect. You know, every time something happens, there's somebody comes out and says, "Well, look, just a second, I've got a new reason." Now, I mean, then I want to go back to 2000. We had new reasons, but there weren't real reasons. Here we have new reasons. Like I was going back and forth with NVIDIA. I mean, Blackwell sold out.
You said it sold out. Right.
So what do you do? It sold out 35,000 a pop. Some say 40. What do you do? Do you just ignore?
Well, listen.
NVIDIA?
I mean, there is an argument Roger McNamee was making it the other day.
I saw that you and he were going back and forth.
Yeah, we were just saying that these companies are pouring so much money and they'll never see a return on the capital. That is his belief. Now it's going to be a while.
Then let's go.
It's going to be a while until we actually know whether he's right or wrong. First of all, but he says it's overhyped and it will underdeliver, essentially. Over time, I made the point that, yeah, you could say the same thing about the internet in 1997, 98. The fact is, though, it delivered everything and way more, but it just took a while.
Well, look, Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, said over and over again, you can't be third, fourth on this. You got to be first. It's not a winner take all, loser take none, because there's so much business. I mean, but you have to be a first mover or else you're going to be left behind. I believe that. And I'm sure Google, which there's a great piece about Alphabet and how, Laura Martin, the biggest business out there is YouTube. But they
she's been calling for that split for years.
I know. Gratuitous mention.
Yes, well, it's good.
But 7% of the chips are going to Google. That may be not enough.
All right, let's talk about what's going on right now with NVIDIA. In recent videos starting around June 20th and 21st, I mentioned that I expected to see some softening in NVIDIA's price and chop in the price action possibly lasting into mid to late July. My reasoning for this was simple. We didn't have any events to look forward to between the annual meeting of stockholders that was held on June 26th and NVIDIA's next earnings report in August. And NVIDIA stock tends to move in cycles of attention, and mid to late July would likely be the point in time when market participants are the least likely to be focusing on NVIDIA as they temporarily shift their attention to other opportunities in the market. Now, as I mentioned in Monday's video on NVIDIA, a few things have happened recently that I was not expecting. First, Nancy Pelosi bought an additional 10,000 shares of NVIDIA stock. Remember, this has nothing to do with politics. The reality is that many investors, funds, and institutional players pay attention to congressional trading, especially when it's Pelosi trading, and many market participants and funds actually emulate Pelosi's investments. The reasoning for this is that Pelosi has a track record of making suspiciously well-timed trades in the market. Additionally, we've received multiple analyst price target upgrades for NVIDIA. Again, I don't pay much attention to analyst price targets, and they should be taken with a grain of salt because ultimately they are just guesses and the analysts do not know what the future holds. That being said, many market participants do pay attention to analyst price targets, and so multiple price target upgrades provide a nice boost. And thirdly, the elephant in the room. The market has been repeatedly hitting new all-time highs again and again. So with all of these recent catalysts in mind, I'm cautiously optimistic at the moment. On the one hand, mid to late July would be the point in the cycle between earnings in which NVIDIA typically reaches a relative low. But at the same time, there are these multiple short-term positive catalysts that I just mentioned. So for right now, I am cautiously optimistic about NVIDIA, but I am waiting to see what happens and hopefully we will have more clarity on the situation soon. I think it is reasonable to expect some pre-anticipatory running in NVIDIA once we enter into August as we get closer to NVIDIA's next earnings report. Now let's briefly talk about the situation with Blackwell. I'm hearing conflicting stories about what's going on right now. I'm hearing some analysts say that Blackwell delivery channels are exceedingly robust, and then at the same time I'm hearing other analysts claim that NVIDIA is having difficulty meeting demand in the short term because the demand for Blackwell is so great. So on the one hand, it's great that NVIDIA is seeing such huge demand for their products, and on the other hand, for the short term, it's a little concerning that they may be running into challenges in meeting that demand. The reason I bring this up is because if you remember, Micron reported earnings recently, and they had a great quarter. They beat expectations on revenue, they beat expectations on earnings per share. They said that their HBM, high bandwidth memory product, was sold out for all of calendar year 2024 and 2025. And yet, even with such great results, the stock took a hit because forward-looking guidance came in softer than expected. In other words, demand was so great that Micron was facing difficulty in fulfilling that demand fast enough to satisfy the street's expectations. Expectations are just so extremely high right now, and that caused Micron stock to trade lower even after the company reported a great quarter. My short-term concern with NVIDIA is the possibility of selling out of Blackwell and then facing difficulty in meeting the enormous demand. Remember, this just a short-term concern. Long-term, the fact that NVIDIA is selling out of their products due to massive demand is very good news for NVIDIA. I'm just speaking in the context of the short term as we approach NVIDIA's next earnings report in August. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang mentioned in the last earnings call that Blackwell was in production and that the company should start to realize some revenue from Blackwell before the end of this year. And with that in mind, I wonder if we will see much revenue from Blackwell in the Q2 earnings report that is released in August, or if we will have to wait for the Q3 earnings report to really see the revenue from Blackwell show up on the balance sheet. I'm not sure. I think when it comes to NVIDIA, the thing we should focusing on the most in the short term is Taiwan Semiconductor's Q2 earnings report that is scheduled for next Thursday, July 18th. Remember that Taiwan Semiconductor is one of the main foundries that manufactures NVIDIA chips. NVIDIA is just the designer and they rely on companies, mainly Taiwan Semiconductor, to actually manufacture the chips that they design. So TSMC's earnings report on July 18th will be very important for NVIDIA, and hopefully after getting that earnings report we will have more clarity on the situation. In the meantime, I am cautiously optimistic when it comes to NVIDIA. I'm curious to know your thoughts on NVIDIA, so feel free to let me know what you think in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.